Good afternoon. We're talking with Chris Carlston, Assistant Professor of Medicine at UBC, a specialist in occupational lung disease. Dr. Carlston, where does indoor air and dust come from, and what is in it?
Yeah, that's an important question I want to address right up front, because we often separate indoor from outdoor air as we speak about it, but in reality that's a bit of a false separation. I'm going to refer to these slides in answering this question, and this graphic helps because while most of the research on air pollution is actually done on outdoor air, generally that's because of difficulty accessing the indoor environment for privacy reasons. In reality, most in the developed world spend their time indoors, as you can see, up to 90%. Because of that, it's important that we understand the indoor environment, and specifically on this slide you can see that much, and in some cases up to 90% of the air indoors actually has come from the outdoor environment. So there's an interplay between these two, and I just wanted to start by having us understand that. The air that we do breathe is complex, and this gives you a sense graphically of the air that is in urban dust. It's just one example that's provided by a colleague in Toronto, but what you can see through this graphic is the complexity of the inhaled air that includes both organic and inorganic matter, matter derived from biological elements such as plants, and other elements such as even tire rubber from cars on the road. And all of this can to some extent get into the indoor environment as I described.
What do we mean by biological agents in indoor air, and what harm can be caused from inhaling them?
Right. So it's simplest to just think of biological agents as those that were derived from something living, whether it's plant or animal. The reason that's important is because the body tends to have a rather exuberant response to foreign biological matter. I'm going to turn to this slide now. For example, this is a dust mite. It's often shocking to people, but what's interesting about this is that you can get the sense that the dust mite is covered in an exoskeleton. It's a complex biological material, just the exoskeleton, that has thousands of components in and of itself when combined, especially with other molecules that exist with the dust mite. So the indoor biologics, for example, a fraction of it could just be related to this dust mite, and I'm going to talk about some of the specifics therein in the following comments.
So how might we learn more if we study more than one indoor exposure at a time?
Right. So I gave this example of this organism. When it dies, it'll shed pieces that will mix with other pieces of debris in a dwelling. So for example, we'll pass now to the following slide. What you see here is that when an allergen, so an allergen could come from the dust mite or could come from other biological entities, when the allergen is combined with a non-biological element like diesel exhaust particles, which don't come from any living creature, but we create ourselves by burning fossil fuels. When those two come together, you can see that it takes less allergen to actually elicit the symptoms of allergy in an individual. So these lines slanting down show that when allergen is combined with diesel exhaust, the same individual needs less of that allergen to feel the allergy symptoms of runny nose itchy nose, runny nose, itchy eyes, etc. Similarly, on the right-hand panel, you see that when the allergen and diesel are inhaled together, the severity of symptoms is increased. As you see on the left axis, the largest blue bar shows that having those two things together increases the symptom severity significantly. And here, for those that are interested in a bit more detail experimentally, this is work that we've done in my lab, one of my grad students, and it's related to the last slide, but this is a more direct view into the lung. We get fluid from the lung after exposing the lung to both particles and allergens. And what you see here in the purple bars is that when the lung is exposed to both particle and allergen, these particular, what they're called cytokines, these chemicals in the lung, IL-5 and IL-13, that are closely related to allergy, are dramatically increased, as you see in the purple bar. So in summary, what we're saying is that showing the exposures that are in the real world and showing them together can give you a truer reflection of what real life exposures are about.
So are there measures that people can take to reduce those exposures?
Right, it's a good question because I'm showing you this experimental data, but we really want to have some more practical information. So I find this is a great, everything we're talking about in terms of biologics can be summarized really by, in this document, the factor of dampness. So after all the science is said and done and all the intricacies therein, dampness is really the #1 factor that's driving all of these biologics in homes in general. And if you just walk away and do one thing to help either your dwelling, your school, whether it's your own house, etc., it's reduced dampness. This document is excellent in summarizing the information that really shows that reducing dampness can dramatically help.
So the take-home message would be for policymakers?
Yeah, so that's a great document to look at, but water is, dampness is really the trigger for most of the growth of all of these biologics. And if you can reduce that, there are a number of measures to do that detailed in that document. Whether you can reduce it particularly at the outset, and that's by building better homes. And so this is a big message for policymakers because if you put in more money to building homes, whether it's for low income, for schools, etc., at the beginning, that will reduce moisture. That'll lead to many fewer downstream problems.
Thank you, Dr. Carlston. Anything you want to add?
No, but you're welcome to contact me. You can find my email through the internet, and if you have any further questions, I'd be happy to try to help.
Thank you very much.